you haven't heard, it'd be pretty hard to play football in Buffalo this weekend, and we'll get there in a second. But obviously, the Detroit Lions now will be hosting the Bills and the Browns game. Quite a mess up there in Buffalo. Thunder snow, fellas. Have you ever been a part of thunder snow?
I have not. I don't plan to be anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll avoid that at all costs.
Neither do these two teams, apparently.
At all costs. And the Lions, while they're playing hosts, also have an important message here. Please don't break the tables.
Yeah, I like the tweet. Important numbers by the phone. Lock up when you leave. Please don't break the tables. I'm surprised they also said, like, listen, need you to clean up, need you to wash the laundry. You know, like an Airbnb host.
Yeah.
You know, like
this isn't
all
a
those
hotel.
chores that you have to do.
Detroit's going to finally see a winning football team playing home games.
Wow.
What a dig.
They hurt me. I like
fired.
the Lions coming into the season. They hurt me. Though they're coming good again.
Yeah, there you
I think
go.
they beat the Giants this week.
It's fair enough. Listen, I think this is great news. Just from a fan perspective, just in terms of like watching at home, like it's fun to watch crazy snow games,
For like
right?
3 minutes. It's
Right,
fun.
right. But like you feel bad for the fans, and you feel bad for the fans in Buffalo just because they're going to miss out on a home game. But for to the point of the Bills, like for the safety of the fans involved, for the for the safety of the players, like they had to move this. So I'm glad the NFL made the right decision. And for us in the fantasy and betting world, this is great because now you get Josh Allen in a dome. You get these two offenses in a controlled environment.
Yeah, and it goes from being a game where the total, which we talked about yesterday, we said bet the over when it was 41.5 because there was upside that the game might be played in a dome.
Right.
And then it gets announced, and now the total's gone up 8 points to 49.5.
Wow.
So that's the difference between a fantasy poor and fantasy rich game.
And with that, great transition, Jay. We welcome in RotoWorld's Pat Kerrane. Pat does a great job writing up the walkthrough, which you can read on rotoworld.com, because it is time for Fantasy Rich, Fantasy Poor. And, of course, we start with the Fantasy Rich matchup this week in Week 11. And, guys, this did flip. The script has flipped. This is a Fantasy Rich matchup. Browns at Bills. The over-under, as Jay said, now at 49.5 because this game is in Detroit. Pat, welcome in.
Thanks.
Thanks.
There's Pat back there at the bar.
Yeah, what are we mixing up for this one, Pat?
Yeah, we've got a fantasy rich cocktail here with the Browns and the Bills, as you guys mentioned. Them being in the dome is a big deal. I don't have a funnel up here, so you guys are going to have to imagine.
But a towel, though.
Yeah, I do have a towel. Just in case I spill anything. Yeah. But the Browns' defense is a major run funnel. Teams are attacking this vulnerable defense on the ground. But we saw last week with the Dolphins that you don't have to go that way. The Browns rank only 26th in EPA allowed per dropback. I think the Bills are going to play to their strengths here. They're going to not be lured by this Browns run funnel defense. And the Bills' offense looks to be condensing. Khalil Shakir looks to be getting phased out of the offense, which is creating more route opportunities for the starter. I think we had, for numerous starters actually, I think we have a handful of fantasy-relevant players in this game. On the Browns side, the Bills' run defense is showing major cracks. They're down to 27th in PFF's run defense grades. And with Nick Chubb, this is a offense that can put up points through the run game. They're not just running to slow the game down. This can be a shootout even if the Browns are run heavy. Jay,
we know that if you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and even Gabe Davis, as Barry likes to call him, Mike Williams East, I mean, you're starting those guys. But with the fantasy rich, as we always go through, the guys get a bump. When you look at Devin Singletary in this game, when you look at, dare I say, Dawson Knox in this game, what kind of bump exists for them?
Well, I think for Devin Singletary, it's great because this total going up means there's going to be more opportunity for touchdowns. Yes, you're maybe not running as much out of the snow, but at the same time, the increase in touchdown potential. He finally scored some touchdowns last week with 2 of them, and going against the Cleveland run defense is a great matchup there. So I think you're just starting Devin Singletary in every matchup. Dawson Knox.
Just before, real quickly, I'll just say, we talked about him yesterday on the Love-Hate Show. I mean, Singletary made the love list this week. Browns allow the second most fantasy points to opposing running backs this year. There have been only 2 running backs. They've faced 10 this year. There have been only 2 running backs that the Browns have faced that have not scored a touchdown. Yep. Basically 8 of the 10 have gotten into the end zone. So Singletary is my running back 14 this week.
Yep. And Dawson Knox, who I think has kind of become the evolutionary Irv Smith. Irv Smith goes down with the high ankle sprain. Dawson Knox turns into Irv Smith, takes his place on a different team. He's going to be a guy who's like 3 receptions, 35 yards, 25% chance at a touchdown, and his value is going to come on whether he scores that touchdown or not. Maybe there's an opportunity against the Browns, an underperforming defense, high total, but you're not feeling great about Dawson Knox. You can probably do better, but you can do worse as well.
Looking over on the Browns side of things, we heard about, obviously.
By the way, those are the kind of things I also say to my wife. When my wife would date, I would say, listen, you could probably do better, but you could also do worse.
Yes.
That was kind of the sell job.
Yes, on the high floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally almost always an accurate statement.
Yeah,
well,
it's like,
unless you are
right, listen,
literally Patrick Mahomes.
It's just like, you can definitely do better. I said, but listen, I'm a grinder. I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to look at the tape. I'm going to, say, you have no idea. I know, but she didn't know that. You and I know that, but she didn't know that. So, by the time she figured that out, that what a horrible mistake she's made. Like, we got a couple of kids, and then now where's she going?
There's no bigger favorite in America to skip leg day than Matthew Barrett.
Yes.
So.
Well, when you're born with these kind of quads, you don't need to. You
Minus
absolutely
5,000.
don't need to.
Oh, man.
You don't need to.
Off the board.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So the Browns.
Yeah.
Speaking of quads,
Nick
Chubb also, the quad grandson.
Yep.
But we don't really care about
him.
Nick Chubb because he's pretty fantasy relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
We care more about
him. He's running back 7.
Yeah, that much is obvious. Kareem Hunt, though. Well, I mean, what do you do with Kareem Hunt at this point where he's been a pretty reliable flex for a while, but lately, especially this season as a whole, it has just not gone his way.
Yeah, I'm not starting Kareem Hunt. I mean, like, honestly, exactly. I mean, again, the argument for Kareem Hunt is that they're going to be down and throwing, and maybe he's the passing down back, but that just hasn't been the case even when they've been down. Like, it's just been all Nick Chubb. Like, he's not been a good fantasy running back for quite some time here, right? I mean, in games in which he gets less than 14 touches, and by the way, 14 touches is a lot. Right? When he gets less than 14 touches, he's averaging under 6 fantasy points per game. I don't see him getting 14 touches in this game unless something were to happen to Nick Chubb. So, yeah, I mean, no thank you on Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, I have it running back 32. So, I mean, I guess if you're truly desperate, but, like, no thank you on Kareem Hunt. I think the more interesting conversation, Connor, if I may, is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, we talked about him yesterday. We talked about him throughout the week, how down we are on him because his road splits for his career are poor, and especially this season where he's averaging, again, under 6 fantasy points per game. You see it there on your screen. When he's at home, 21 fantasy points per game. When he's on the road this year, just 5.8, 33 receiving yards per game. He has yet to score a touchdown on the road. So the question now becomes, like, well, he's not on the road.
It's a neutral site.
It's a neutral site.
What do we do?
But he's away from Cleveland.
I reckon he goes off. I reckon he has a monster game. The neutral designation has changed everything. There's going to be a switch in his head. All of a sudden, Justin Jefferson, who are you? It's
I think you're starting him. So he's my wide receiver 21. I think you're lowering him a little bit because he's away from Cleveland. So it is a, quote, road game for him specifically. But the fact of the matter is one of the reasons why we were talking about him being, we're negative on him earlier in the week is, like, he also doesn't do well in cold weather. Like, he has struggled throughout his career in cold weather, and we're like, oh, this is going to be Buffalo, bad weather. But now he's in the Dome. He's in Detroit. He's on the turf. So I actually am much more bullish on Amari Cooper this week in Detroit than I was on the road at Buffalo. Again, wide receiver 21 for me, borderline wide receiver 2 this week.
And as of this morning, guys, still no Trey White expected to suit up for the Bills. So that's a secondary that there's some holes there. That's a lot of people expected him back as long as he's been activated since practicing a couple of weeks ago, and nothing there yet. So another big note to make this a fantasy-rich game.
But by the way, Donovan Peoples-Jones, just real quickly, as long as we're talking about this game, 20% target share since week 4. He's had at least 70 yards in 5 of the last 6. And so in a game in which we think the Browns will be trailing, he comes in at wide receiver 30 for me this week.
All right, one more fantasy-rich environment in this week's slate. The Eagles at the Colts. The Eagles 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 45. Pat, what are we drinking for this one?
Yeah, so this is kind of a middling total, right? It's not necessarily going to be a shootout. But what I like about this game is
it did surprise me a little when I saw this on the list.
And I don't know that it's going to necessarily be all that high scoring, but I think the points are going to flow through fantasy relevant players you're actually going to have in your starting lineup. Goddard obviously going to miss this game. His absence is going to open up targets. I think it's important to consider what kind of targets. He's been targeted on 27% of his targets have come from screens. So those additional screens that are opening up could boost Devontae Smith's value. He's seen screen targets at nearly 3 times the rate of A.J. Brown. So we could see things more condensed in the Eagles passing game. And on the Colts side, the big impact so far of Jeff Saturday has been to get his best players more involved. Jonathan Taylor had a 94% snap share last week, which is off the charts. The Eagles rank 31st in EPA allowed per rush. They can very much be run on. He has elite upside back with this coaching change. And Michael Pittman also saw a ton of usage last week. He saw a first read target on 33% of his routes. For any wide receiver to see a 33% target rate is elite, but the fact they're coming on Matt Ryan's first read shows they're calling plays intending to get Michael Pittman the ball. We also saw plenty of targets for Paris Campbell, less routes for Alec Pierce. This offense is condensing to its fantasy-relevant players. A toast to Jeff Saturday.
Jay, let's look at the Colts receivers in this one. Matt Ryan's back.
Jeff Sunday, by the way, is his official name.
Undefeated. Only undefeated coach this season.
He, on a per-game basis, he's the highest winning percentage coach in NFL history. Just saying.
There's no argument.
Numbers
you are an athlete.
I mean, again, like
Yes.
I don't always like to flex and show off, but Connor's here, Kerrane's here.
Yeah. It's a special day.
You're a new blood.
It's
Flex Friday.
It's Flex Friday.
Yeah, we'll get there later too.
Yeah, I just want to flex not just these muscles, not just these guns, but right, the pythons up here.
Yes. The brain pythons.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Your turn to flex the brain pythons
hey,
here.
you know what, Jay Croucher?
Yes, Matthew Barry.
Welcome to the gun show.
Oh boy.
And it's right up here.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't like when you get that close.
That's why you strategically sit over there, smart the middle man.
Very smart. Yeah.
Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell.
That's right.
The pass catches.
Matty Ice back and ready to roll.
Colts have got a winning record when Matt Ryan's a quarterback.
Yeah.
And to Matthew's point, Jeff
Rushing
Saturday,
threat, Matt Ryan,
1,000% winning record. I think you're starting both of these guys, particularly Pittman. Obviously, he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the game. We have an ongoing thing where I keep on saying guys are one of the 15 best wide receivers in the game, and then I refuse to list out the other 14. But Michael Pittman is definitely on that list. And look, his targets with Matt Ryan, past 4 games Ryan has started, 8, 16, 9, 9. He gets a lot of the ball. Then Paris Campbell, even more impressive arguably, target count with Matt Ryan, past 3 games with Ryan at quarterback, 11, 12, 9. I don't know what happened to Paris Campbell, but he's discovered something good. Alec Pierce being phased out. I think you're starting both of these guys with relative confidence, and Pittman certainly with a lot of confidence.
Barry, on the Eagles side, it's just been a roller coaster season for fantasy for Devontae Smith. You really never know what you're going to get. With a little bit of a boosted environment here, they have the Colts. Are we buying in a hot Devontae Smith week?
Lukewarm, but
Okay.
but I'm more in than out. Like
Yeah.
having wide receiver 23, he's had at
Playable.
least 8. I think he's playable. He's had at least 8 targets in 2 of the last 3 games here. The Colts are really good against the run. It is a top 10 run defense over the last month, and so Miles Sanders, who has no passing game involvement, and the way they're going to move this ball is, I think, through the air. And to your point and to Pat's point, but the fact that, hey, I think it's a narrower target tree here. It's really going to be A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with no Dallas Goedert. We'll see if anyone else emerges. They've got kind of this 3-headed monster at tight end. So we'll see if anyone else, and is there kind of, do we get some Quez Watkins looks, this week? But I do think Devontae Smith is playable as a high-end wide receiver 3 this week. I'm nervous about Miles Sanders. If there's a positive here, there's a floor. 72% of the running back carries so far this year. He has had 5 rushing touchdowns in the last 6 games, but really bad game last week. No passing game usage. And again, as I said, over the last month, Colts' 7th best run defense in the NFL. He's always a risk to be vultured at the goal line by Jalen Hurts. He comes in at running back 20 for me. So low-end RB2, still startable, but not as optimistic as you might be in other weeks.
The fantasy poor matchup of the week, the Rams, the Super Bowl champion Rams, at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored in this game by 3 points. The over-under at 39. Kerrane, it feels like this is the bottom shelf area of the bar. This is the dollar beer section. What are we cooking up?
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with that area,
really
by the
is.
way, at the bar.
This
Yes.
is your rail liquor drinks here.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple for the Rams. Losing Cooper Kupp is really going to hurt this offense. Obviously, the offensive game plan on the Rams side was designed to go through Cooper Kupp, but defensive game plans were designed to take him away. He's been double-teamed on 30% of his routes this season. That's tied with Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams for the highest rate in the league. But the crucial thing was that Kupp was still succeeding despite that additional defensive attention. He had an elite 2.15 yards per route run when double-teamed. Without Kupp, you're going to see a ton more defensive attention to the other Rams receivers. I think that's going to more than cancel out the additional targets they might see. Saints are going to feel like they have an extra defender this week. And then on the Saints side, Andy Dalton's play has really dropped off over the last couple weeks. He ranks just 30th in EPA per play over that span, and that's been against middling pass defenses. The Steelers, the Ravens, they are not all that strong against the pass. Gets another middling Rams pass defense here, but the Rams are very strong against the run, so the Saints offense could be one-dimensional. We have that mixed with declining play from Dalton. That's mixed with a low-scoring offense on the other side. I do not recommend this cocktail.
Let me throw this to you. Sure. Super Bowl champion team. Do they have a fantasy-relevant player in this game with Cooper Kupp sidelined?
No. I mean, you see it there in your screen there. The highest-ranked guy I have, I guess, would be Allen Robinson at wide receiver 31. I mean, I've got Higbee at tight end 12, Stafford at QB 19, but like Robinson's probably the quote-unquote most viable. I guess Higbee is a top 12 tight end just because it's so awful, but like the Saints have allowed one touchdown to a tight end this entire year. One. Like, they're really good against tight ends. Only one tight end has over 40 yards against the Saints this year. So it's sort of shocking that the run game is a mess. We don't know how the Cooper Kupp targets are going to be distributed among all those guys. So it is. I mean, the Saints are the second best pass defense in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. Like, no, thank you. Like, any of these guys you're starting, you're truly desperate. It's insane to think a Super Bowl champion team coached by Sean McVay doesn't have any fantasy-relevant players on it, but they don't.
Oh, it's crazy. Jay, on the Saints side of things, and we're digging deep in this one, fellas. I mean, that's what we're down to right now. Juwan Johnson, he's been, consistently scoring touchdowns. That's just about it. Jarvis Landry, is there anything here, or is it avoid at all costs?
There's not much. There's not much here. Yeah, it's a far cry from the NFC Championship 2018 days when these two teams were having high-scoring, blockbuster matchups, and Nickel Roby-Coleman was killing bodies. But look, I think that Jarvis Landry, there's some outside chance. Like, he had 6 targets last week coming off the injury. Maybe he gets more of a workload. He did have a 7 for 114 game, but that was back in week 1 with a different quarterback. So that's probably not coming back. Juwan Johnson, yes, I think he's viable as, again, in the Irv Smith mold of a guy who's going to be 3 for 35 and probably has a better chance of a touchdown than Dawson Knox just based on his touchdown equity lately, but you're not feeling good about anyone.
All right.
No. You're starting Olave and Kamara.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.